What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to show you how you can get really smooth overheads, cymbals, or whatever's in the overheads. Pretty easily too. Like it's not overly hard. It's just mostly EQ, right? But some specialized EQ. So, anyways, we're gonna get into that. If you guys hear the air conditioner, I'm sorry. I know it's gonna drive some of you crazy, but it's so hot in here that I can't. I just can't. I have to have it on. So. I've been sweating all day. Probably has something to do with the Thai food that I had for lunch, and now I'm drinking a poppy to hopefully help with that. I don't know. Not sponsored or anything. Just these are just great. If you haven't had one, they're great. All right. Before we dive in, mixing cheat sheet down below. Absolutely free. Pick that up. Anyways. Where do we start? I don't know why I paused so long on that. That was funny. I lost my whole train of thought. Anyway, cymbals right here. So what we got right here is we've got the overhead over the hat, the overhead over the ride, and then we have a hi-hat mic. And by the way, you guys should start labeling your overheads like this, because whenever I get it, I don't know if they're thinking, especially because I pretty much mainly mix live worship recordings now. So I never actually know if they mean the overhead left is drummer perspective, overhead right. And so please start labeling like this. Even if you're a musician or you're just sending it to someone to mix, please label it overhead hat, overhead ride. It takes all the guesswork out, right? Now toms, I'm not as worried about that. You know, I always just do T1, T2 because I never know if it's a rack tom or a floor tom until I listen to it anyway. But yeah. Pro tip there. Us engineers love that. So first things first is what I go through and I EQ each individual track, but just like the most annoying parts of it. So you can see there's some 600, some 500 that were taken out, and then some it's like 2.7, 3.2, just some really annoying frequencies that are like overall just either piercing or there's just too much going on there, and it may not even be the cymbals or the performance. It's maybe the microphone is just inducing that with the introducing that with how the drummer's playing and whatnot. So same thing on this overhead, and then on the hi-hat we got like a wide 1.8 taken out, and then a little bit of this 4.8. It looks like something really annoying there. And so that leaves us to where we are here with these cymbals. So let me just give this a play real quick. I'm gonna take these EQs off so you guys can hear it. So if you can barely hear that, that's okay. It's not doing a lot. It's really just kind of doing a little bit of cleaning on each mic. And it's not meant to be a drastic change. It's just meant to like pull things out. So then when I send everything to the bus to kind of do the overheads, the cymbals as a whole, I'm not dealing with those individually in the bus here. So first things first, I throw on the 4KE, and we're going to turn the dynamics off. We're not going to be using that at all. And then first thing I usually do is I pull some of the low end out. Now you can do this on the individual channel, but I just prefer to do it here because I'm usually going to pull about the same amount out. I really don't care to have the low end of the kick in this in the overheads. It doesn't make sense to me to have that. So we're gonna pull this up while we're playing it to just give it a listen, because you still want to keep some of the body of the toms and the snare. So I try to stay anywhere from 200 hertz to 300 hertz. That's the wrong one. Oh my gosh, embarrassing. Yeah, so we're gonna land about 220 there for this track, but like I said, it just depends on the mix, depends on what you're going for, depends on how your overheads sound. Next, I like to add top end here, okay? And I actually I prefer to use. I know you guys have seen some of my videos. You guys haven't seen some of my videos. I prefer to use these, SSL EQs, any vintage EQ or anything. I like to use it as an additive EQ, and then use like these parametric EQs to take out whatever I don't want. So pretty much on this we're just gonna be boosting. So I love a good something around like 10K on the cymbals most of the time. Yeah, so it just brings a lot of life. Just brings almost just some excitement to those cymbals, a little bit more energy. You know what I mean? And then I love to boost around 5K as well. So we'll see how that sounds. I'm just gonna listen to the whole drums. So see, when we take this out, and I'm going to put it back in, you're going to actually hear the cymbals kind of soar above everything else, and it almost finds its own spot in the mix just by doing those boosts. Yeah, and then I also like to kind of find where the snare is hitting in this lower 200 area and just give it a slight boost. So I'll change this to bell, and we're gonna try to find where that snare is kind of like where that fundamental note is on the snare. Right, yeah. So I think it's about 190, and I know we're high passing up to 223 and then boosting at 190. It seems stupid, but I like to do just a small boost just to give that snare a little bit more body in the overall mix. Because there's something about whenever you are adding a little bit more body into those overheads, because it's the gap from the overhead to the snare when he's hitting it. It's like a special. It almost elongates the low end of the snare a little bit, because you're actually waiting for that to hit compared to where the close mic is. So at least that's how I think about it. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but to me it always sounds good whenever I do it. So we're just gonna A/B this, and I'll show you guys this real quick, just with the so we'll solo the snare bus and the cymbal bus here, if it'll let me. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so this one, it kind of tightens it up. It's very interesting. But I usually like to boost around there. I think I'm actually going to leave it alone this time, now that I've A/B'd it. And those are the decisions that you have to make whenever you're in that moment. Okay, so now we're done with the additive EQ. Next, we're going to compress the heck out of this, and this is kind of my go-to setting here. Kind of have it already set up for us. Is I have the release on. I use a CLA 76 on the Blackie side, and I have the release set to 7, the attack set to about 4, and then I'll adjust the input and output accordingly. So let's just give this a listen real quick. Oh, sorry, I still have the snare bus soloed. There we go. And so what I'm going for here is to clamp down on that snare. And I'm not really worried about compressing the actual overheads themselves, but I am worried about kind of getting that snare to be tamed in the overheads, so it's not randomly poking out with the inconsistent hits of the drummer. And so, yeah, I love like anywhere from 2 to 5 dB of gain reduction usually sits well with me. And then we're just going to boost up this output just a little bit. Sorry, we're going to bring the output down a little bit. Back up. And see, we have that fast release, so it's not holding on very long. It's really just taming that snare. All right, and then this is usually my finishing move. Okay, is I put Soothe on, and I'm going to show you guys how to use this because this is kind of where the smooth action of the cymbal takes place. So what I like to do is I like to grab these two nodes here. Actually, let's grab this one here. Oh, there we go. It wasn't. I was double clicking it. You just can't hear it. It just wasn't working. There we go. So I like to put these two nodes roughly at like 2.8 and about 5.2, and I'll leave the sensitivity. You know, we're around 6 dB, maybe around like 5 dB actually to start off. And then we're going to turn the sharpness and the selectivity all the way up. We're going to leave it on soft. And then I'm going to gradually bring this depth knob up. And you're going to see all of these little, tiny little resonances. It's going to start pulling out. And basically, this is so cool for cymbals because it's taking cymbals, you know, they have such a wide frequency range. It's going to take all these little, tiny little resonances and just start pulling them down, of the ones that it feels like it's being overloaded. And this is just crazy. Like, this is just basically a cheat code. So let's just give this a listen as I pull this up. And see, I like doing it in this area because this is where the vocals like to sit. And so basically we're taking any crazy resonances where the vocals would be, and even like the guitars and keys and stuff. And so we're not overloading this section and making it very harsh. It's just smoothing out the entire, almost the entire drum kit itself. So I'm going to A/B it here. So we're gonna bypass it. In. So smooth, so freaking smooth. And then I'm just going to show you guys one more hack. You guys don't have to do this on your mix. I like to do it on on mixes that are pretty dense, and I'm struggling to get the snare to pop out, right? You know, I know this happens to a lot of us. So what you're going to do is, I kind of already set it up, but I can kind of show you from scratch. So we're going to sidechain a dynamic EQ using Waves F6. We're going to sidechain a node right around 4K, in between 3 and 4K about. And to do that in Studio One, you just click up here in the sidechain, turn that on, and then you click here, and then you want to choose the reaction, the channel that you want it to react to. So this is going to be the snare bus. So then you come down here to whichever EQ node you're on, and you change this to external source down here. And so now, so we're going to set this back to 0, show you guys. So now the node 5 here is going to react to when the snare hits. I'm going to set it so that it pulls the cymbals down for a brief second. And what that does is actually maintains the tone of the snare in that frequency range, and it kind of just makes room for it for that brief attack second. You hardly ever actually hear it in the mix, which is really, really cool. Like, you don't really hear the dip in the cymbals, but you hear the snare being consistent, which is definitely what we want, right? So, let's just give this a listen real quick. And boom, now our snare where that tone is right there is going to be consistent. And you can do this not just there, but you can do it in the low end too if you guys wanted to. Like it's there's no rules, right? And you can make this as wide as you need to. And so let's just solo the cymbals here, and we're going to take all of our inserts off and then back on. You guys can hear what we did. Just straight up cleaned up, and so now like all of the drums are going to sound better. So let's just solo all the drums, and I'm going to A/B all of these inserts while we're listening to all the drums. And you see how dull the drums sound whenever I take that off? It's wild. So definitely try this on your guys' next mix, whether it's just using Soothe or something like it, or even just making room for the snare here. It's an absolute game changer, and your drum tones will thank you, and your mix will thank you because it'll be less harsh. It'll be great. Mixing cheat sheet down below, absolutely free. Check that out, and I cannot wait to see you guys next week. Sorry about the air conditioning again. It's so loud. I'm so sorry.